Welcome to the Shaun Tabatt Show, a podcast where I connect with thought leaders from across the globe, digging into important topics like creativity, personal development, marketing, health, spirituality, and so much more. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Today, my special guest is Andy Erwin, and we're going to be discussing his new film, I Can Only Imagine, which opens in theaters on Friday, March 16th. Andy, thanks for joining us on today's show.
Yeah, man, it's a privilege to talk about this story. We're really excited.
Well, first off, this is your first time on the show, so I'd love for the listeners to have a little bit of context for you. So why don't you begin with sharing what you might call the Andy Erwin origin story? What are a handful of things we should know about you?
John and I, my brother and I, we direct films together. We got our start as kids. When we were first getting started, I was in high school and had this hobby that grew out of control. And I, tried to struggle of how could God use this. And somebody really encouraged me. I was talking about, do I need to be a missionary or what do I do as a Christian? And they said, Andy, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I've got a camera in my hand. I don't know how God could ever use that. And they said, Andy, give God what's in your hand and let him figure out how to use it. And so that kind of started this little dream of doing movies one day. And I Can Only Imagine represents our fourth feature film. We did October Baby, Mom's Night Out. Our last one was Woodlawn. And then this one is particularly special. So along the way, we just found the power of telling stories and just what an awesome opportunity it was to introduce the world to Christianity in a whole new way.
When you guys were growing up as kids, were you making little short films and that sort of thing? What did that look like in those early years?
Early years, there was a small camp up in upstate New York that when I graduated high school, I helped out at this camp, and they found out that I had some film experience. So John was still 15 at the time, and my brother and he came up to work for me during the summers, and so we'd make film shorts for the kids. And the first one was this epic Night of the Round Table type Arthurian kind of story, and we did it, thought it was brilliant, and thought this is going to be, showed it to the group of 500 kids, and it was crickets at the end of it. And one kid on the front row sitting right next to my brother goes, "Is that it?" And so it was definitely trial by fire. That there's nothing more honest than a group of high schoolers, and that's where we fell in love with storytelling, and it was a great audience to kind of test things out on, and that's where kind of the hobby started, and then we fell in love with storytelling, and then that moved to music videos, and we worked for ESPN for a while as cameramen, and then eventually we made the jump back in 2010 and doing feature films, and haven't looked back since.
I like that story because anybody who is a creative, whether you're painting, you're podcasting, you're doing film, whatever it is you're doing, when you look back on some of that early work, people didn't always respond how you thought they were going to respond, or you cringe a little bit because you didn't have the tools or the skills that you do as you go on 5 years, 10 years, 15 years into something. So I know a lot of creatives who listen to this show will definitely be able to appreciate that story. Let's transition into the movie now. To be honest, when I heard about the film, I was like, so they're going to make a movie based on one of the most popular Christian songs of all time. I was totally skeptical. But when I had the opportunity to sit down and view the film, I was totally blown away. I mean, you guys just knocked this out of the park. So congratulations on, way 10,000 times exceeding my expectations.
Thank you.
I would love to hear, where did this idea to bring the true story behind I Can Only Imagine come to life? I mean, was that something that was initiated by Bart, or where did you all even begin to think about bringing this idea to the big screen?
It was just really kind of divine providence. I invited Bart Miller that wrote the songs with the band MercyMe. I just invited him to a screening of Mom's Night Out, and got to the end of the film, and he came down to the front. We started talking, and he said, "We need to talk." And I said, "What's up?" And he said, "I don't know if you know this, but the movie studio has been developing my life story for the past 5 years. I'd love for you guys to consider directing it. I love the way you told this story, and I think you do a good job with mine." And I said, "I don't know if you know this, but those people sent us the script for your movie this morning." And it just was kind of meant to be. And I just really liked the guy. We just became fast friends. The more I kind of dug into his story, it was just an amazing true story. And I love the song. The song means so much to so many. But the context of what created the song was a just an incredible father-son story. And it was an abusive father that at the end of his life, as he's passing away of cancer, experiences redemption and reconciles to his son. And that huge reconciliation moment led to Bart writing a song for his father about what his dad's seen in heaven. It was just an amazing story. And as we uncovered more layers, like the layer with Amy Grant and other people that helped kind of launch Bart's career, it was bigger than just the song. It was just the context for why that song is so powerful. And those redemption stories is what really makes us keep doing what we're doing. So we jumped on board, decided to do it, and Dennis Quaid signed on to play Arthur, the father, and just it came to life. And it's, so much as being a filmmaker, you can't really control exactly where the ship's going. You kind of point it in a direction and hope it's going to end up on the shore you're pointing at. But on this one, it was just capturing magic in a bottle. It's one of those things you can't plan for. God just did something special in the story, and it's powerful, man. It's my favorite thing we've ever worked on.
Well, I would definitely agree that it's powerful. I sat down and watched the film with my wife, my kids ranging from 11 on up. And one of the things I really appreciated is you're tackling some difficult topics. Like you said, Bart's dad is abusive and that sort of a thing. But you go about all these hard things that you're presenting in the film in a way that's graceful, a way that you're getting the point across, but you're not being gratuitous or sharing or showing too much. So would love to hear a little bit about kind of that balance you're trying to strike with telling an honest and difficult story, but really presenting it in a way that's still going to allow for families to sit down and appreciate this film together.
Sure. I think, with our brand at Erwin Brothers, we want to always have a bond of trust with the audience that, if it's got our name on it, there's not something you're going to have to apologize to your kids for. And we're going to walk difficult subjects, important subjects, whether it's walking the idea of pro-life topics in October Baby or, racism in Woodlawn or abuse in this one. We're going to walk those topics in a way that definitely brings up great discussion points, but does not cross that line of trust with the audience. And the way we did it on this one is Bart was very involved in the whole production of the movie. And so we really try to get a good understanding of what actually happened. And we feel like there's more power to it when you show the effects of, kind of like in Jaws, you show the effects of the shark without showing the shark. So we just showed the effects of the abuse and we talk about it. But we feel like shame is not a good motivator. We didn't want to sensationalize anything. We wanted to highlight the opportunity for redemption. So I think we painted a really accurate portrait of Arthur, Bart's dad. And Bart, what he says about his dad is he said, if the gospel can change that dude, the gospel can change anybody. So that led to us the way we took on the story. But and a lot of it's also Dennis Quaid, the way he played the character is really textured and human and beautiful to play this really broken guy that most would say is beyond redemption, and he finds it at the end of his life. It was an incredible experience watching that character come to life.
Well, I'd love for you to just take a few minutes and introduce us to a few of the main characters that we're going to meet as we're watching the film, and tell us about the actors and actresses that you chose to play those roles and what was special that they brought to the screen for that particular character.
The cast is so critical to whether a story really works or not. I mean, that's the main job of directors, making sure you get it cast right. Once you cast a movie, it really kind of tells itself. The story tells itself if you've done it correctly. And top to bottom, this cast doesn't have a weak link. It's an incredible cast. And that starts with John Michael Finley that plays Bart. His very first feature film. We wanted somebody that could do their own singing, somebody that had Bart's kind of lovable personality and blue-collar grit. And we found this kid. He was the main understudy for Jean Valjean in Les Mis on Broadway. We found him there in New York, and just this kid is special. He is special, and he just is. He's going to turn a lot of heads in this film. And then Dennis Quaid plays his father. Dennis signed on, and Dennis is, has had an amazing career, crazy talent, but. He's always played the good guy that kind of gets a little bit better. And in this one, he said, I've never played a character like this. He said, I really love this guy because he starts out, one end of the spectrum, and by the end is transformed into something completely different. And there's a couple of scenes that just, as a director, made me just, kind of giddy inside to watch it happen, because it was just a powerful, powerful performance. It's one of my favorite of his career, and so really proud of what he brought to the table for that. We've got Cloris Leachman, who plays the grandmother, Mamaw, that really is kind of an angel in Bart's life. She won an Oscar before I was born, and she's a hysterical lady. She just lovable, 91 years old and still acting. And then, a lot of other familiar faces from, different films that people would know from the genre. Trace Atkins, Priscilla Shire, Madeline Carroll. It's just an amazing cast. And, as a director, it made me extremely happy to see these characters brought to life.
You've mentioned Dennis Quaid a few times. Honestly, as I was watching him in the movie, I was like, this is such a dark character for him to play. I mean, we've seen him play like the dad in a lot of shows and be a very positive role model. So it was fun to see him bring this to life, but I can imagine he appreciated being able to be a part of telling this amazing redemption story, which just comes across very powerfully as folks are viewing the film. When you think of people getting to the end of the movie, the credits are beginning to roll. If you had it within your power to make sure they took away, a specific message or walk away somehow encouraged or changed after viewing the film, what would you most like that to be?
I think that, when we first started, we asked Bart, what does that song deliver? What is it that comes across in that song that people love? And he said, it's unquestionable. It's a rush of hope. When you need it the most, it's a rush of hope. So we felt like that's the destination we needed to end up with the movie. And I think the hope in this story is the beautiful idea of forgiveness and redemption, that nobody is too far beyond redemption. No relationship is too broken for reconciliation. As long as a person has breath, there's always an opportunity for change. Arthur could not have messed up any more as a dad. But at the end of his life, as he's passing away of cancer, the last bit of his life, he experienced grace and forgiveness. And as a result, it redeemed his relationship with his son. And as a result of that, Bart was able to write a song that really shook the world. And I just think that it's a beautiful breath of fresh air of hope, of saying there's a chance for anyone.
2 more questions here as we begin to wrap up. We've seen a lot of very positive shifts in the faith-based film space in the last few years. And I'd be curious, from your vantage point, what do you see as kind of the current state of this space when it comes to, the role and respect, what we're seeing in Hollywood, and what's on the horizon? I mean, faith-based films just keep getting better and better and better. It's pretty amazing.
It is exciting. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Christian in the entertainment industry. For whatever reason, I think Christianity really led the arts for centuries. And even in film, the church was very involved in, movies up through the 50s and 60s. And you had beautiful movies of redemption like Ben-Hur and other movies like that. And then for whatever reason, we kind of stepped out of the sphere for several decades and just kind of gave up the space. And I think as a result, we lost our seat at the table. So I'm grateful for the brave individuals, whether that be, Mel Gibson or the Kendricks or others that stepped into this space and said, hey, we would relate to tell stories that matter to us. And there's people that were really brave early on that, especially, in the faith genre that had to really learn, we had to all learn the craft all over again. And as a result, those people that did that kind of paved the way for us to do movies like Imagine were really brave. And so my hat goes off to them. It took a lot of courage. And I think there's a group of probably 6 to 8 of us filmmakers that are all trying really hard to continue to up the bar and to push each other towards quality. And I think you see that with movies like War Room and then Case for Christ, which was a brilliant movie, and hopefully Imagine has taken that next step, and hopefully the movie that comes after that, the next filmmaker steps up and takes it a farther step. And I think as a result, the bar has been rising to the point where we can really compete and really legitimize our genre and find its voice. And so I'm really excited about what the future holds. It's just exciting to see quality stories getting told and that craft getting better and better and better as we try to chase quality and earn the right to be heard.
Andy, remind us, when is this film going to be releasing, and where should people go on the web to find out more?
Opening weekend is March the 16th. Somebody that was far more tuned in than I am pointed out that our release date was 3/16, so we're claiming credit for that now. So it helps people remember 3/16. Go to take people to the movies, check it out in theaters. It'll be across the country that opening weekend. And if people want to find out if there's a theater near them, they go to our website, icanonlyimagine.com. There's a tab that says Find a Theater Near You, and type in your zip code. You can find a theater. Make sure you take a big group, and man, I think it's going to be an exciting time to be at the movie theaters.
Well, and as we do with every episode, once you finish listening, head on over to ShaunTabatt.com, and I will have detailed show notes, places where you can watch the trailer, get tickets, find out more about the film. So we'll get that all linked up there just to make it easy for all of you. It's time to bring this episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show to a close. Many thanks for being a part of my conversation with Andy Erwin. Once again, our film today was I Can Only Imagine. If you want to watch the trailer and get tickets for a theater near you, be sure to head on over to the film's website at icanonlyimagine.com. And Andy, I just want to say thanks so much for sharing with us today. It's been a great pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Thanks, my friend. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for the great interview.
That's all for this episode of the Shaun Tabatt Show. If you have a question or comment, be sure to give me a shout out on social media or send an email to show@shauntabatt.com. The intro and outro music is from the song titled Jesus Loves You, written and performed by my good friend Casper McLeod. It is from his album Faithfulness, which is available at theupperroomfellowship.org. Until next time, this is your host Shaun Tabatt, signing off.